Everyone, and welcome to the third and final part of our Local History Research 101 series. My name is Matt. I'm the head librarian as well as the local history librarian here at the Moffett Library of Washingtonville, located in Orange County, New York. Now, the last two presentations we gave kind of showcased different ways that you could access our collections online or in the library. If you're doing, general research, we never really gave you a specific topic in mind. This presentation. We're going to be using both our in-house and online collections to show you how you can use these various resources available through our library to research your family's history, especially if that history pertains to our area, because that's what our local history collection is mainly focused on. However, that being said, we have a lot of really great resources that even if you don't have a connection to Washingtonville or Blooming Grove or even our county or state, we want to be able to help you discover your past and understand and learn. And a lot of the resources that I'm going to be showing you today, especially the ones that we have available online, will help you do that. So first off, we're going to be looking at things that are available in our library. And what I mean by that is we're going to be looking at biographies and memoirs, directories, and vital records, such as birth, marriage, and death records. There are many more resources available to you from our library, especially in our local history collection, that you might want to reference. However, when you're starting out your family history journey, these are the main primary resources that you're probably going to be accessing, primary and secondary resources that you're going to be going to first. So the first one we're going to be looking at is our biographies and memoirs. So we have a collection of memoirs that were written by locals or published by local people, such as Rose Workman's Love, War, and Remembrance, which is a wonderful memoir that she wrote of life growing up in our area during the Second World War and beyond. But we also have biographies and specific family histories that relate to families as a whole here, or a specific family in mind. So, for example, we have this Moffett genealogy book. Obviously, our library is interested in anything related to the Moffats because that's how we, our namesake is of the Moffat family. The Moffats were very prominent in our area, so we want to be able to have things that kind of show their history and can help people research more, look more into this family. So the interesting thing with this specific biography, or I should say genealogy, is that it doesn't just give you the names of specific people and who married who and who gave birth to who and how many children did they have and what happened to them. It also shows you, it gives you some biographical notes. So if the person served in the American Civil War, that might be mentioned. If they were a notable local business person, that might be mentioned. If they were if they somehow did something important in the community or notable in their family's history that wanted to be highlighted at that time, that's going to be mentioned in here as well. So, for example, if you had a family story about, I don't know, your great-great-great-grandfather arm wrestling Abraham Lincoln during the American Civil War, well, hey, that's pretty cool. Where did that come from? So you might find that in a book like this as well, whether intended to be put in there as kind of factual information or not. Again, whether or not it's true, you might have to do a bit of research there, but a book like this would actually kind of give you an idea of where a lot of those other anecdotal stories came from. Another really great resource, and this kind of tied into, I said directories earlier, which involves lists of names and people and where they lived. This is kind of tied into that in a way. This is genealogical research. So these are published books that we have that relate to not just a specific family, but families, meaning that these are families that either live in the same geographic area, they might all be related to each other, in some way. They also might be culturally or or ethnically connected to related to one another. If they came from the same origin, country or what have you. So this is an example of one of those. It's actually one of my favorite resources that we own here at the library. And this is Genealogical History of Black Families of Orange County, New York, written by Robert W. Brennan. Now, this is a 7-volume set. We actually have copies of these books available for you to check out if you have a library card with the Ramapo Catskill Library System. And it's a real testament to this one person's knowledge and determination to kind of highlight people of African descent who lived in our area from the 1700s, as far back as he could find information on, all the way up to the 1940s and 50s. And so that being said, the first volume is what he was able to find using information from the Orange County Clerk's Office, as well as resources available through third-party vendors like at the time Quest or Family Search today, or some other resource like that, where he could actually find census information. And a lot of these were published before Ancestry was a big thing too. So you think about how much effort this person went into doing this work. He wasn't expecting it was going to be so big, but so because of that, you might have families in one book that might not be highlighted in another book, or so it may take some time, and a lot of these books did not have indexes in them either, so you might have to go through and search a few. But once you're able to, but even if you have no connection to any of these families whatsoever, it's a really great resource. And the fact that he also includes news clippings, so like if there was an article or a short death notice related to a member of one of these families, he actually included that in this book, or where he could. He includes marriage information. He includes letters from World War I. You name it, that information is in here, and it's just a wonderful resource to have, especially if you're interested in researching, prominent, historically Black families in our area, such as the Dolsons, such as the Kings. They are in here, or the Depews as well. So that's an example of some of the genealogical research that's been published that we have available in our collection. We also have vital records. So what we mean by vital records are, I talked about that a little bit in the last slide, but we're looking at mainly lists of people, records that were required by law to be kept, or if you need to apply for something. For example, if you're going to get married, you need a marriage license, so that's a vital record. So looking at those vital records, you can kind of see, who your mother's maiden name was, and when did they get married, and what was her family's history, as would your father's history or your great grandfather's history. These are two other examples of vital records. So the one on the left is Orange County Jury Lists, Volume 1, 1798 to 1825. And basically these are lists of people who lived in our area that were called up for jury duty. And you don't really think of that when you get asked to if you were asked to be on a jury panel for a trial, that your name, your occupation, all that's being recorded. Well, over 100 to 200 years ago, people were doing the same exact thing. So looking through these jury lists, you could see if your ancestor was called up for jury duty, and not just if they were called up for jury duty, but also these lists list what the person's occupation was, where they were living at the time. So very important information outside of the fact that they may have been involved in a court trial. The other book that we are highlighting here is Ancestors of Orange County by D.G. Van Kuren, and basically what this resource is a list of cemetery inscriptions from local cemeteries throughout our county. So you may have a family plot that's connected to your ancestry, and you want to know if any of the people that you're researching is buried in that plot. This book will tell you that. It will also tell you when the person was born and when the person when the person died, based upon the inscription on the tombstones. And that's important because when we're talking about record keeping before computers, or before when everything was kind of like handwritten, and dates and times were recorded slightly differently. There might be some discrepancies there. So this is as they were recorded on their tombstones, and so you may have to do some additional research after that to make sure that that's the exact date. But at least you know that the person that you're researching may be buried in that cemetery, and you might be able to connect with the local church or a county clerk's office to see if there's additional information related to burial plot information and who's paying for the plot and all that specific information that could tell you if your ancestor is actually buried there. So now that we went through a little bit of what we have here in-house, let's go to what's available online. And we're going to be looking at 3 specific resources. So we have Family Search, Ancestry Library Edition, and Heritage Quest. Again, each one does the same thing roughly, but in a different way, and each one has its own pros and cons, which we'll go through in a little bit. Not necessarily cons, but just maybe things that you might have to be aware of if you're going to be doing research here. But all in all, they are really great online databases that allow you to really explore your past and look and discover new information that our library may not be able to have here readily available for you. So the first thing we're going to go over before we go into any of those resources is how to get there. This is our library's research database page. Now, this may change from time to time, but essentially this is where we're going. We usually have links to all of these and more databases that can be connected, that you could be connected to help you with your family's history. So if you go to moffatlibrary.org, you could go to our research tab. We should have information there related to genealogy and learning about your family's history. We also have a link to this page on our local history LibGuide as well. If you do have any questions or need assistance in getting here, we always say contact the library. Our number, it's going to be at the end of this presentation, but I'll just tell you right now, our library's main line is 845-496-5483. The reference number is extension 326, and there will be somebody there who would be able to help you get directed to these resources online. You could also contact us at moffat@rcls.org. It's MOFFAT @rcls.org. Now, on our research database page, we have a genealogy tab. That tab kind of has all the databases that we're going to be kind of going over today located on there. The first database that we're going to be looking at is Heritage Quest. Heritage Quest is a database that you can actually access from home, which is really great. You could, and basically what Heritage Quest has on it is U.S. Census information. It has information related to military records. So if your ancestors served in the American Revolutionary War or the American Civil War or the War of 1812, any of those conflicts, that service information will be available on here if it has been digitized and put online. So we're going to be kind of going over this first because this will be the one that if you're not familiar with any of our databases, you'll be accessing this from home immediately. So on our research database page, on the genealogy tab, you're going to see this link for Heritage Quest Online. If you're accessing it from home, you're going to click the Login Outside Library button. That's that green button there at the bottom. And if you have a library card with us, you're going to be prompted to type in your library card number. If you have a library card with another RCLS library, such as Newburgh, Goshen, Cornwall, if they have access to Heritage Quest, we recommend that you go through their website instead. because your library card will be linked to that account, and unfortunately you wouldn't be able to access this from here. But it's basically the same database. If you don't have a library card with RCLS, but you do live in Washingtonville Central School District area, or another area that's serviced by an RCLS library, we highly recommend you get your library card. You're really missing out on a lot of really great resources, and we're not just books. And again, good example of that is being able to access this online. And if you happen to not live anywhere near an RCLS library and you need help accessing Heritage Quest, or you may need information related that might be on here, contact one of us. Again, my information is going to be at the end of this presentation, and we're more than happy to help you with that. So you're going to put your library card number, getting back to the login, you're going to put your library card number in, and you're going to click connect. And then you're going to be taken to the Heritage Quest homepage. So this is Heritage Quest. It's not Ancestry and it's not Family Search, but what it does allow you to do is access directories. It allows you to access some of those vital records I was telling you about. So marriage records, death records, if tax information is all listed on here. You could also start a story. In Ancestry, which we'll talk about in a little bit, you can create a family tree where you could talk about who's connected to who and the information you found on there. The library edition doesn't allow you to do that. The Heritage Quest though does allow you to kind of create your own your own family history and your own family tree here. They also have some really great online learning resources. So if you don't know where to start when you're doing genealogy research, you could click one of those facets and you could actually, or research aids, and you could actually access that information that way. And here's some additional information, when you start to kind of do a deep dive into Heritage Quest. So we have, again, census information, books. So like that Moffat genealogy book I showed you before, that might not be on here, but you might be able to find maybe the history of Orange County on here. You might be able to find maybe history of families of southeastern New York on here, which is a kind of an encyclopedic directory of notable names and people who lived in the area around the turn of the century. We also have wills and probate information is on there, so you want to find out who gave away the family silver to who, and who bought the property, or who inherited a specific piece of property. That would be on there. Military records, again, service information. You want to know when somebody enlisted in the American Revolutionary War. You want to know what unit they served in during the War of 1812, or when they were killed in action during the American Civil War. That information is on here as well. Immigration records, big, obviously for a lot of people who have family who immigrated to the United States, or even traveled out of the United States for a brief period of time. That information is on here too. So you not only get maybe the name of the person and also how old they were, but also the ship they arrived on. And that's really important, especially when you want to kind of add context to the research that you're conducting into your family's past. And this again is showing you, federal census information. If you just type in Moffat, very similar to the way if you use Ancestry before, it's similar in the way that the results pop up. You have a listing here. You can make the search as broad or as specific as you like. There are little tabs that say View Image, or icons that say View Image, so you could actually view the original document. And then if you can't, for whatever reason, read the original script, it does transcribe it for you, for example, right here on the search results page. And here is kind of when we click on one of the results for D.H. Moffat, David H. Moffat, we see he was a farmer in the 19th century, and his name is highlighted there along with members of his household. So if you're doing research on other people related to him, that information will pop up here as well. Again, very similar to the way Ancestry presents its information. The next resource we're going to be looking at is Family Search. You might be familiar with Family Search. It's a freely available genealogical database. It's run through the Church of Latter-day Saints, so it's affiliated with them, not a specific for-profit corporation or a specific library entity. However, libraries have served and do serve as affiliates of Family Search, meaning that in the past, if you wanted to do research using the records that Family Search was able to collect through government organizations and historical societies, you'd have to go to a research center that they operated, and they would have microfilm there that you could read. Or they would send out microfilm to a specific library, and you could read it there if the library had a microfilm reader. A lot of libraries may or may not have microfilm readers in your area, and Family Search facilities have different hours than may warrant you being able to actually access them. So because of this, our library became an affiliate library, meaning that not only do you have access to what you're able to get through Family Search through your normal account, but when you come here into our library, you have access to all of that additional information that you would normally get at a family research center. So you might have records that you wouldn't be able to find elsewhere outside of our library's computers, which is a really great advantage our library has if you decide to come and visit us. So to get the Family Search, again, from that research page, again, very similar. You're gonna see a link for Family Search here. We do note that we're an affiliate library as part of this program. Again, which gives you access to additional content. Once you click on the link, you're going to be taken to another page. It says create an account or sign in. When you create an account, that is an account that you create with Family Search, not through our library. So even if you don't have a library card with us, you have to create an account with Family Search in order to access their basic content. And everything on there is completely free. But again, any information related to your account or password authentication, or if you forget your username, that's run through Family Search, not through our library. So a little bit of a disclaimer there. That being said, once you create your free account, you could then click sign in. If you already have an account with them, you just click sign in, and you enter in your account username and password, and that will take you to the home page here. Now, it's a little bit different than Heritage Quest and Ancestry. As you can see, it's a little bit more, how do you get started, and there's a little bit more instructional information here on the home page. But that being said, once you click around a little bit, you could search again records, images, family trees that have been established on there. So you could create a family tree on Family Search as well. Genealogies, catalog books, and research wiki. So it's very much it provides similar content to Heritage Quest, but may provide additional extra bonuses, I like to say, that Heritage Quest might not. My recommendation to you is if you're doing your family history for the first time, don't just use one database, use multiple ones. Because what you may find on one, you might not find in another. And what you might not find on one, you'll find in another. So the more databases and tools you have at your disposal, the more information you're able to find, and maybe the more connections you're able to find versus just using one. And and we see here are some New York specific records that Family Search has, and so again, these are specific record groups. So you could see, information related to passenger lists for immigration passenger lists. You could see information related to other archival materials related to specific clerks' offices. So that hyper specific, hyper local information may be on here that you might not be able to find maybe on Heritage Quest, which is really kind of geared more towards looking at things at the federal level, right? So you're looking at the country and the state, but not necessarily looking at the county, although that might be on there as well, but maybe not to the same degree as it would be on Family Search. And you see here the information is presented in a very similar format to Heritage Quest and Ancestry. You could zoom in on this probate record and read a little bit more about the transfer of ownership of property following this person's death. You can also, click through and flip through a record series similar to if you were reading microfilm, if you remember using microfilm. So very user friendly, provides some really great documentation information for your personal research, and again, is readily, you could log in at home if you want to. You have access to that already, or you come in here to the library and you get additional records, literally millions more records than you would ever get if you were using your regular account from home. And again, just to emphasize the point even more, Moffitt is a Family Search library affiliate library. So if you use any one of our public access terminals here at the library and you log into your Family Search account, you don't just get what you normally get from home, but you get all of those other records as well. And it's a really great service that our library provides. Again, as long as our library is open 7 days a week. Check if you feel like you want to stop by and try this out. Give us a call in advance to make sure that we're going to be open during that time. I always say, again, give yourself a couple of hours at least to kind of explore and take notes and actually enjoy yourself. Enjoy the research process here, and don't feel rushed at all. Finally, we're going to be looking at Ancestry Library Edition. It's the big name, right? So you might have access to Ancestry from home. You might already have a paid account with Ancestry, or you might be thinking about getting a paid account with Ancestry. The Library Edition I like to liken to the fact that the library has a Netflix account, right? And we're giving you permission to use our Netflix account, but you have to be here to use it. So Ancestry, you have to be physically here in the library building to use it, either using it on one of our public access terminals, one of our computers here, or you could also bring in your laptop or a tablet and connect to the library's Wi-Fi, and you could access Ancestry Library Edition through our Wi-Fi network. Unfortunately, it's not available for you to access from home. That's where Family Search and Heritage Quest comes in. So you see that there's a difference between the three, yet they all do the same thing. So we're going to be now going into Ancestry Library Edition, which offers you, a lot more stuff. So again, getting there, you're going to, on our genealogy page, you're going to click on the link that says Ancestry Library Edition, Washingtonville. You'll note that there's a little red icon at the top there, as well as a note at the bottom that says for use in the library only. Again, like I mentioned before, it's for library. It's to be used in the library only. You cannot access this from home. You cannot access this remotely. But once you're here in the library building and you are able to access it, you definitely have a lot of power at your fingertips. You have a lot of materials at your fingertips. Plus, you have all of the print resources that we have here at the library too that you could use as you're searching on Ancestry Library Edition. And so when you click on that link, it'll take you to this home page, right? So it's very similar to what you would see if you were accessing Ancestry on a personal account. Or it's also similar to Heritage Quest the way it's set up. And again, the only difference really with Ancestry Library Edition, aside from it being only accessed here from the library, is you cannot save photos, you cannot save materials to a specific folder, you cannot create family trees. So just word of caution, or word to the wise really, make sure you bring a flash drive with you. And then that way you can save items to your flash drive, and then you could add that to a folder on your personal computer's hard drive, or you could print things out too here from the library. Just let us know that what you're doing, and we'll help you print out documents if you need that from Ancestry Library Edition. But otherwise, very easy to use. You find your ancestors or find your stories using the little green button there. There's also different menu options up at the top, which allows you to search specific records. Here's their card catalog, for example, and again, not just stuff from Washingtonville, not just stuff from New York, but you also have international records on here too. So a lot more stuff than you would imagine either on Ancestry, either on Heritage Quest or even Family Search are available on here. And again, very easy to use. You type in your relative's surname and their first name or whatever information you're able to fill in, and then you use facets to kind of determine how accurate you want the search to be or how exact you want the name to be spelled, because people may or may have misspelled their names on different records, and then you could get a listing of information related to them or possibly people related to them. And again, not just showing you here is some stuff that you may be of interest to you, but you can actually click on links and that will take you to a a scan of the document that has your relatives' information. Um, this is a really cool record. It actually relates to a local family here. There is a young woman on here. This is her name is Florence B. Owen. You'll see her towards the bottom there, and she is the daughter of George A. Owen of Washingtonville, Orange County, New York. And this is actually a passenger manifest from the First World War. Florence Owen was one of two women from Washingtonville, the other one being Lena Carlson, to actually go overseas as a Red Cross volunteer and serve in the First World War. And back then, women were not really allowed to go on the front lines. It was seen as kind of a kind of a moral a morale issue if, let's say, one of these women were killed in action, so to speak. It was kind of at the times you didn't want to see that didn't really make good headlines or didn't make good press for the war. But Florence and Lena both were brave enough. They actually were at the Meuse-Argonne offensive, taking care of the wounded soldiers, and we know that Florence Owen at least received a Distinguished Service Cross. So this is a record that's related to her. But even if you aren't related to Florence Owen or Lena Carlson, this is something that may be of interest to you because it shows not just hey, this is the ship that they arrived on, this is when they were in France, but also here is where this is their hometown, this is their father, this is their mother. So you already have additional information related to that one person that you may have not had before. We also have additional online resources. We're not going to go through all of them here, but we Find a Grave is a really big one. If you're interested in seeing where your relative may be buried, it's all crowdsourced, so there's photographs and family information that are posted to specific entries there. Our cemetery has done a really wonderful job of the Washingtonville Cemetery has done a wonderful job of trying to photograph and kind of corroborate information and connect people who are buried in the cemetery or interred in the cemetery to each other. So that's just a local example of things. But that being said, you might be able to find additional information there that you might not be able to find in Ancestors of Orange County, that book that I showed you earlier. We also have links to local historical societies as well as genealogical societies that may be of interest to you. So if your relative lived in Sullivan County, we have a link to the Sullivan County Genealogical Society. If you have a connection to Ulster or Orange County, Dutchess counties, the other counties that neighbor us, we have links to those organizations as well. So we don't just want to connect you to websites. We want to connect you to people. We want to connect you to people who also know the area well or well enough to kind of tell you, oh yes, well, your relative lived on this piece of property here, or they may have been connected to this family there. We want to be able to give you that information as well. We also have some fraternal organizations such as the Sons of the American Revolution, the Daughters of the American Revolution as well. So those organizations that where you have to do a lot of research in general just to be affiliated with them. They have information, they have librarians and archivists as well that can provide you with additional details related to either your ancestor who was a member of the organization or the person that they are connected to who served in the American Revolution themselves. We also have our local history LibGuide that we covered in part 1 of this series. So on our local history LibGuide, we have not just, we mentioned earlier the different tabs that allow you to kind of explore different areas of our that are covered in our collection, but we also have a genealogy tab at the top. And the genealogy tab splits off and gives you additional links to other resources that we have in our collection. So whether it's general reference, family histories and biographies, church records, military records, databases and online resources, anything genealogical related that we have in our local history collection, we have links to it on here as well. And again, just to emphasize, here are a couple of the genealogy resources that we have available on our local history page. We have biographical indexes on the left. And again, if they are in the public domain, we have links to digital copies of those that were digitized and put online for educational purposes. So in some cases, you may not even need to come into the library in order to use our resources. Or let's say it's like a last minute search, and let's say we have to be closed that day, or it's after we close for the day, or it's before we open. You could take a look and search here and get prepared for when you come in to visit, and provide us with additional information that we may be able to fill in the blanks with. We also have church records that are available. So church records, for example, being histories of the Blooming Grove Congregational Church, histories of the Presbyterian Church. So these church histories have lists of people that either contributed to the church at certain points, ministers, lay persons that were involved in certain committees. So again, if your ancestor may have been connected to one of these churches, their name might pop up in here, and they might have a little biographical note related to them and say, for example, John Smith contributed $50 for this church pew. That's something that you never knew before, and that would be listed in one of these records. We also have military records. Again, a little hit and miss because some records are more unit histories, so it's a little bit broader. Some are maybe linked to a specific person. But even if they aren't related, even if your ancestor isn't mentioned in these histories, at least you know what they might have done or what they might have gone through. For example, we have the history of the 124th New York, written by Charles J. LaRocca, a notable local historian himself, and this tells about the entire history of this regiment. And so even if your ancestor, let's say, didn't really keep a diary, or didn't write home, and you don't have any of that other information that is written or retold by them, you could actually see what battles they fought in, or what it was like to be a soldier in the Civil War. So that's just one example of a resource that we have available here at the library that might be able to help you with your genealogical research that isn't specifically related to genealogy itself. So with that, I'm going to end this series. Again, thank you very much for attending. I will say that as of this recording, which is April of 2023, we currently have a very active genealogy club that meets at our library. What I recommend is you contact the library at 845-496-5483, extension 326. For additional information on joining our genealogy club, it's really a work group, but it's a really great way to meet people, share information, and maybe ask questions. The group is led by a local genealogist, Jill Moore, and who's been very helpful to our library in the past. You could also contact us at moffat@rcls.org. We'll be more than happy to help you every step of the way, whether it's how to log into one of these, how to log into an online database, or what books we have in our collection that might be able to help you in your personal family's journey. Or if you just were interested in learning how to get a library card, we're more than happy to help you with that as well. So with that, thank you very much for attending this 3-part series. I hope it was an enlightening experience for you, and I hope it shows you that history isn't so far away. It's really at your fingertips, and also as close by as your local library. Have a good rest of the day, and take care.